What if I told you that every skyscraper, cathedral, and even the house you live in is part of a story thousands of years old? Architecture didn't just evolve by getting bigger or better. It changed at a few major turning points that completely redefined how humans built, lived, and imagined space. Today, we're looking at 5 key turning points in architectural history, from ancient temples to modern towers, and why they still matter to the way cities and buildings work right now. The first big turning point was when humans started building not just shelter, but symbols. Ancient temples in Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece were more than religious spaces. They were statements of power, organization, and belief. The mechanism here is simple but huge. Once a society can coordinate labor, materials, and engineering for a shared purpose, architecture becomes a tool of identity. That's useful even today. Modern stadiums, government buildings, and corporate headquarters still do the same thing. They communicate authority, community, or ambition. For example, the Parthenon wasn't just a building. Its proportions and columns were designed to project order, harmony, and permanence. The Romans changed everything by making architecture practical at scale. They mastered the arch, vault, dome, and especially concrete, which let them build stronger, wider, and faster than before. Why does this matter? Because once you can span large distances and create durable structures efficiently, architecture stops being limited to small rooms and thin walls. It becomes infrastructure. Think of aqueducts, bathhouses, roads, and amphitheaters. These weren't just impressive, they shaped everyday life. Modern cities still depend on this idea. Buildings are not isolated objects. They're part of a system. A good modern example is how large transit hubs or arenas use the same Roman logic. Move lots of people, distribute loads, and create spaces that can function at massive scale. The third turning point came in the Middle Ages with Gothic architecture. Cathedrals like Chartres and Notre Dame used pointed arches, flying buttresses, and ribbed vaults to push buildings higher and open walls for stained glass. The key mechanism here was structural innovation. Instead of making walls thicker to hold weight, engineers redirected forces outward and down through a smarter skeleton. That changed everything. Light flooded in, interiors felt larger, and buildings became emotional experiences, not just functional ones. This is useful because it introduced a lesson that still drives architecture today. Better structure can create better space. You see this in modern museums, airports, and churches, where engineers design open interiors without cluttering columns everywhere. Then came the Industrial Revolution, and with it, a total reset. Steel frames, elevators, and mass-produced materials made it possible to build vertically. This wasn't just a new style, it was a new logic. Before steel, walls had to support the building. With steel frames, the skeleton carried the load, which meant taller buildings with larger windows and more flexible interiors. That's the birth of the modern skyscraper. And the usefulness here is enormous. Dense cities could grow upward instead of outward, saving land and concentrating work, housing, and commerce. Look at any major city skyline, from Chicago to Shanghai, and you're seeing the consequences of that turning point. The fifth turning point was the rise of modern architecture in the 20th century. Architects began stripping away decoration and asking, what does a building actually need to do? This led to the famous idea that form follows function. Materials like reinforced concrete, glass, and steel made it possible to create clean, efficient spaces with lots of light and flexible layouts. The mechanism behind this shift was design rationalization. Buildings were treated like systems. Structure, light, airflow, circulation, and purpose all had to work together. That's extremely useful in the real world. Open-plan offices, modular homes, hospitals, and minimalist homes all come from this thinking. A hospital, for instance, isn't designed to look fancy. It's designed to move patients, staff, and equipment efficiently while maximizing hygiene and visibility. So when you look at architecture through history, these 5 turning points reveal a bigger pattern. Every major leap happened when humans found a new way to solve a problem, whether it was symbolism, scale, structure, height, or efficiency. And that's why architecture is so fascinating. It's not just about buildings. It's about how we organize power, create beauty, solve practical problems, and shape the way people live. So next time you see an ancient temple or a glass tower, ask yourself, what problem was this building solving, and what future was it trying to create? From ancient temples to modern towers, 5 key turning points in architectural history is just one small part of architectural history. If you're interested, our full free architectural history course is linked in the description.